We're going to be using a FLIR, so this is actually what firemen would use to actually help save people. So this is not an app you guys are going to be able to go home and download when you guys go home. So you do have to have the separate attachment. But again, firemen would use this. They would throw it on their phone and run into a burning building to go see who they can find. So it's just a quick attachment. We're using it because it's the real deal. We're looking for real ghosts, just so you know. This isn't like Myths and Legends night, like most other ghost tours. So again, I'm red, orange, and yellow. You guys should be able to see me, right? And of course, the beard is going to be much, much cooler. But I usually make the joke, and it'll work tonight, so sorry, Andrew, but that means I'm the hottest thing inside the frame right now. Yes, I have jokes all night. Just it's okay to laugh. Have a good time. Lighten up. But we're going to be looking for, well, actually, April is going to be looking for those cold spots. They're going to be black or blue. So I want them to either move or to take shape. When I say take shape, I want them head, shoulders, moving arms, and legs. That's what we're looking for with this. I always love to give you guys stats with these pieces of equipment as well. I capture probably 4 to 5 pieces per year with this that I would put my stamp of approval on, but I do have dozens of others where I'm like, not sure, it's a 50-50. But again, I'm not a TV show host, so again, it's not 4 to 5 pieces per episode. That's per year, guys. I do this 5 to 7 nights a week, depending on the weather. So again, and it's 365. Well, minus the holidays, because I take those off. So that's your starting. So when we're in a space, just so you know, you're going to leave it recording for the entire time that we're in that duration. The reason why is because if you hit record, by the time you think you saw something, it's gone. Yeah. So let's just get some footage. You'll probably get to an hour and a half of footage out of that. You're just not going to record in between spaces to recreate the Blair Witch Project. So we got a card coming in, so let's move back a little bit. Just move back on my end forward on here.
How terrible in the passenger side.
I like that how terrible. I know it's a feeling, and we can't normally prove feelings, but I want to see if something else pops up with that. So I'll be writing that one down here in just a moment. So welcome to a parking lot. Congrats, you made it. I told you I'd take you to weird spots. The other ghost tours. The other ghost tours won't come here because there's obviously nothing to see. But this allows, obviously my groups to be able to spread out a little bit. That way you guys aren't influencing one another. So here's where you're at. So, oh, by the way, communication devices, the 3 of you. This is where I start withholding information. I will not be giving you questions here like what color was George Washington's white horse on purpose. So that way you're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. Now, yes.
Should we just like blurt things out when it happens, or should I wait till someone's talking, or
you're talking about
it just goes like 10 or something?
Yeah,
crazy,
like it's
hey, this is
like
happening
these
right
two.
now?
If they're giving me like too much, I'm gonna ask them to calm down. If you've got numbers and in regard, because I was waiting for some numbers to happen. Yeah. So you've had a 2.4. We're waiting for the 2.5 or higher. So let's say you get to 2.5. And then you get a 5 a minute later. That's your new baseline. Don't give me anything below that. I gotta write all those numbers down. Nobody wants a report with nothing but numbers in it. So we're just gonna see how high we can get it and kind of see how it sidesteps. Make sense?
Yep.
And then with each new location, I will always give you like what the averages are, and then what your new baseline is gonna be for that space. Because some spaces are gonna have some electricity in there. Again, that baseline is gonna move up a little bit. Again, when you go to a space a couple of 100 times, yeah, you get to know how it works. This place used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion sat in the front of the space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant. All perfectly lined up with our 91% full moon. And then came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. That's the layout of the land. So who the hell were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Chucks, in case you weren't paying attention. That's why we look for those secondary clues. I need to know, in the event the mechanic hears the name Charles. Nice, so that's your new base.
I didn't hear Charles, but I heard Sean.
I don't know who Sean is. I'll write it down because names and numbers usually don't lie. In the event that she hears Charles, I need to know which one it is. So again, we're looking for a secondary clue, so I know how to address them. You guys are hopefully starting to see the point on those secondary clues now. Even if it was just 2 of you, we would still be using 2 communication devices just for secondary clues. But anyway, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics more than all of you to put together. We're going to move on. If I don't give the gentlemen their recognition of signing the Constitution, they'll do it for me in a very nasty manner on a spirit box. So I try not to make them angry. I just give them the recognition. We move on. Let's talk about Eliza instead. Much better story. Eliza marries Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say it slowly like that because if you're going to ask her how old she was, do not expect numbers from the colonial days that she came from when young ladies got married like at 12 and 14. Okay, think of today's standards because the husband was over double her age when they married. So I'm kind of giving you subtle clues there. Now, she married him because her father was over in England and he thinks he's dying. He's trying to bring all of his kids home one last time so he can see them. Well, Eliza didn't believe he was dying. No, instead, she stayed put right here and got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that year to earn a green card because we are not a country yet. That doesn't exist. So she did marry him out of love. If anything, this is a true love story. There's nothing horrific about this location. If anything, it is a place of respect. Back to Eliza. She was correct. Dad did not die right away, and instead he starts sending her gifts from England to where you're standing. One of the gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. That's a plant that makes blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. You're wearing it right now because that's what we use it for. That's what makes them blue. When she got her seeds though, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her servants how to keep it going. It's not always hot here. Then she had to learn how to make the dye. Then she moved it to a cash crop, got a hold of Dad overseas and told him that the rice plantations were going downhill in price, that they were going to make a killing with the indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So, this is a woman to be celebrated, but that's the boring business stuff of Eliza. Let's get into the weird shit, because that's why you guys are here. So, let's kind of talk about how, like with all of these communication devices, how this is going to go is I'm going to give you focus questions. And this is, you can either just think about them, because it's not like I'm not here every night. It's not like she doesn't know what we're going to be asking. Or you could say these things out loud. Keep in mind, we do have a camera running, my voice recorder, and 3 communication devices. If Savannah's asking a question, any one of those other devices can get the answer. We never know what this is going to look like. Imagine with my groups of 10, there's more communication devices than I have in the bag. So that way you literally have to tell me everything that's going on. So I can say like, oh, Savannah was asking this, and then McKenna got the answer. Like she just doesn't know what the answer is. So here's what's going to happen. You two are going to have the same set of questions, just because you're using the same style of spirit box. So you're going to be focused on Eliza's death. She's pretty open about talking about it. So the 4 major questions we get answers to: how old she was when she died, obviously a specific number, what she died from, which we did get that answer last night, super cool, where she's buried, and which president was the pallbearer at her funeral. So again, 4 specific questions. If you decide to go rogue and ask your own questions, don't ask about the children, no yes, no questions, be respectful. I'll explain about the children before we leave the space. With your device, you're going to be focused on the mansion. It's not here anymore. What happened to it? If you get the what, we will often get 2 or 3 numbers of the when, the exact date of when that occurred. I'm giving you a clue. It was a tragedy, dude. So I'm sure you figured that out by now. Again, I think that's going to be like plenty for us to be able to work with. You did get a 3.7, was it?
I looked down when you said that it hit 4.5.
Okay, 3.7 and 4.5.
Inside.
McKenna, have you heard anything?
I heard prayer.
Okay.
This has said faith for a while here.
Yeah,
What
it was
that
when you
phrase
started
that you had
talking about her
again?
death.
The first one we walked in.
When we walked in, she's talking about reading the Bible all night. Something along with reading the Bible all night.
All
Together,
night.
Bible all night.
Yeah, all night.
Together,
Bible.
Prayer.
It's weird. Now, granted, you are in the holy city. We're going to get a lot of religious terminology and phrases. I don't write down all of them, but yours like stuck out to me just because you've had like different stations kind of combining it, which seems kind of like an odd thing to do. I have to write down the name Sean as well. So we are going to spread out. I think, yeah, it's windy tonight, so we can't use that. All right, let's spread out. Let's get you guys listening in. Kind of find your spot. Again, we're going to stay within the confines of these walls. I'll do a couple of round robins with you guys, kind of write down a few notes, see what's going on, and then I'll bring us back and give you all of the answers to show you how it all tied together, if we have anything at all. So again, just be respectful while we're here, and hopefully we'll get a few answers. So, I mean, I'm pretty pleased with it going up to the 4 or 5 so far, but that's still pretty low for this location. This location gets an average of 18 to 22.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's no electricity in here. So that's the average 5 out of 7 nights a week. So I'll explain more about that once we start hitting some better numbers. All right, let's spread out. Let's do this. You guys get to work. Yeah, stay away from the vehicles, especially with your vehicle.
Okay.
We only got 2 cars over there. So you seem like you were pretty hip to at least some of the terminology. Like, do you watch the shows?
So yeah, I've watched them before, and then I've done a couple like more ghost tours. Like we went to Salem, and then I've been to Waverly Hills for an overnight at Waverly.
How was the Waverly? I'm curious.
It was interesting. I don't know that I felt a whole lot, but there was a lot of people with me that said they felt a whole lot. So it honestly, it was so hot that night. It was like July, and there was no air. Like
Right.
couldn't hardly take the heat in there that night. But
Yeah, the feels, like, if somebody tells me that they're feeling a certain way, like on my routes, like, I don't want to say I dismiss it,
yeah,
but I kind of take it in consideration. Like, I can't prove it.
Yeah.
It's only pertinent to them.
yeah,
So I do get a lot of like self-proclaimed psychics and empaths and sensitives or whatever they want to call themselves. Normally half of them leave halfway through my night just because I've either debunked them or I'm not playing into their power play of they want the attention of being an empath.
yeah,
So again, the feels, like if I was on something like you just explained, I would have been so pissed off because if that's all they had and there was like no equipment for me to be able to verify something,
Yeah.
like that's where I would have been a little
well,
upset.
some of them said that they got, like, there's supposedly like a little child in there.
Yeah.
I've
heard that story.
And then they play ball, like you can see a ball going back and forth without anybody there.
Mhm.
And some of them said their flashlight, like they sat in a circle and their flashlight went off without them touching it. But I wasn't in there to see all that, so I don't
So
know.
the
It was,
flashlight
I was more
testing-
just hot
Yeah.
than anything that night.
Sure, especially in July.
Yeah.
The flashlight test is a lot like the cat balls that they were explaining.
Mhm.
So cat balls, as you know, only go off when they move,
Mhm.
but they're so sensitive. Like, to me, like, I understand people want inexpensive ghost hunting material. Like,
Yeah.
even a flashlight test, they literally get those twist ones and put it just before it's supposed to go on. Like, so
Gotcha.
to me, like, anything can make that thing turn on.
Yeah.
Like, if it just gets enough electricity, like, that close from the battery to the actual bulb.
Yeah.
So I don't use the flashlight test either. Obviously, I use pretty high-tech stuff. And again, there's more stuff inside the bag. We're going to take this even further. But again, I love when you guys tell me that you guys did overnight excursions like that, because I'm like, okay, talk to me. What have you heard? What have
Yeah.
you done?
It was, I mean, it was a neat experience just to say I've been there and I did it, but it was,
Mhm.
I didn't really get much that night, so.
Yeah. Well, you're just basically a visitor at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Without
So,
equipment, you never know.
Yeah. So it was
Well-
neat though.
Well, again, when you said that, it was McKenna's idea, I'm like, okay, so we got to drag along mom. But then you're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I know what that. I'm like, all right, she's.
I've watched a few of the shows, but I'm always like, I don't know that I believe this. And
And oh, you mentioned Salem too.
yes, we did do. Well, it was more of a ghost tour.
I've
I mean,
heard. How do I put this? On the fence ideas about Salem. So, what was your experience?
I like history, so I love hearing about the history, and I've, the Salem witch trials and all
Mhm.
the things. But it was. They would tell you, like, here is where this person died, and people say they see them, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything like this. Like,
Right. And that's how most ghost tours work.
yeah. So.
But I've heard that it's very cheesy up there.
The one that I was on was honestly not that bad. I really liked the guy, but I'm a history. I love history.
Right.
So if you tell me about history, then I'm like into it. So maybe I was an oddball, but I thought it was pretty neat.
Well, to me, ghost hunting is history. So,
Yeah.
I've mixed history, English, and science all into one career.
Yeah. But Salem itself was. People were very rude up there. The locals don't want you up there, but in general, like, Salem is kind of cheesy in my opinion. But like the cemetery for where the Salem witch trials and stuff
Mhm.
like that's interesting to me. And of course, the kids. I have a younger daughter. She liked the Hocus Pocus,
Right.
all that stuff
Yeah.
that had been filmed there. So
How old is McKenna?
McKenna just turned 21.
Okay.
So
I never know, just because my girls are like this big. So,
Yeah.
like, when I see other people's kids, I'm like, I have no idea how old they are.
yeah, she
I
just
actually-
turned 21. My youngest is 16, but
We're almost in the same boat. I got 18 and 23. So
Oh,
same.
okay.
So,
Yeah. yeah,
Well, my London turns 18 in 2 weeks. So,
it's crazy. Yeah, time flies.
oh, she's moving to Savannah. So,
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she just graduated. So, but at any rate, so she's moving to Savannah, and then I'm actually going to be moving to Florida.
Oh, okay.
Because my wife is, taking her education up to the next level,
Yeah.
and the only school really available is either in Louisiana or Florida. So she's choosing Florida. Hopefully she can get in. I'd rather be in New Orleans based
Yeah.
on what I do, but
Yeah.
she wants to be near the parks.
Well,
Sorry.
What you got?
I was standing right there.
Yeah.
It said,
Okay.
walk around.
Huh?
You want to walk around? You just sitting and listening. You hearing anything?
Hmm?
You hearing anything?
I heard if you want the truth, this is how you get it. I heard a lot of 24 too.
it said maybe not a perfect marriage. And
Yeah, she
then-
keeps getting like odd phrases among multiple stations, and they're making sense, kind of like what you had walking in here. So she had one.
and I
can't
heard
remember.
some more. It was like a bomb, explosion, stuff like that, just over and over.
Yeah,
and over.
it wasn't a bomb that destroyed the place. You can hit stop on your camera and give your hands a break. So we'll probably have plenty of footage, especially with nobody in here and only one vehicle. Love it, love it. Get going down one way or the other. And if other tours are going to come down here, they're going to come out of the ivy wall, just so you guys know. We're the weirdos. We have all the blinky lights and gizmos. If people walk through us, they're going to say, like, whisper shit back and forth to each other, like, you got equipment. Just get used to that. Because, again, we're more in popular areas now. Or they'll come in the way we came in. In the event that this tour leaves before we do, we're just split the C's and let them pass through. I'll stop talking and let them pass. Did you hear anything else along the way here? Okay, and I'm sorry, I kind of distracted
No,
you
it's
because
okay.
I was, like, interested in, like,
I need to put your.
what's your words you got going on? Last 4 or 5 terms? What'd you get while you were in Big John's? Anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's a refrigerator. That's it.
I couldn't hear anything in there because they were doing karaoke.
Oh, that's fair. So, like, this place I was going to take out because I do change this every year. I've already told you I get repeat ghost hunters, and they don't always want to see the exact same spaces, even though the evidence might be different. So I just try to change things up a little bit for them. But this guy follows me around. What's interesting is the word gun and brown. This is where it's relevant too. And just a few nights ago, we had 4 terms relevant to him by the Pinckney Mansion site. So that was like the first time I ever seen him like venture that far, almost like to come find me, because he will follow us to literally every location we're going from here. It's a weird thing for him. Every place we go from here, nearby is a place of raised emotion for him. That's where I started to figure things out, like why am I getting so many things? So now it's almost like, am I the raised emotion for him because I can communicate back? Because his story's been told for the past 40 to 50 years, and I'm the only one that can talk back to him.
It's a familiar face.
Right. So, by the way, the Pinckney Mansion site, I was going to take that out last year because I was getting some rude ghost hunters on your end. You guys notice I told you it was a place of respect. Every night before I meet with you guys on that corner by Big John's, I walk through the Pinckney Mansion site and tell Eliza all of your names. So that it's kind of a pact I have with her, like, hey, I would at least come by and tell you like how many people I have and what all your names are. That helps me remember your names first off, so some of you are super impressed with me memorizing 4 names. Because again, this is light for me, this is an easy one. But I do it every single night. I just gave it a few weeks break, and kind of because I was getting some nasty messages coming through spirit boxes, like, and it was not radio chatter. So again, I just kind of took the hint and gave her a break. And even though it was kind of light over there, we had a couple. Oh, by the way, the word first was relevant because of the George.
Oh, yeah.
So now you see the reference where I got excited about that. I forgot to tell you about that. She also heard November 16th, was it?
November 16th, or it may have been 17th.
I wrote down.
But
Well,
I
it
wrote
was
down
16th.
I wrote down 16th, but I couldn't.
I'm
Could have
pretty
been either
sure.
way.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's super relevant at this point, but I want to say like that's an exact date of one of the people's birthdays or death dates. So I'll look at that when I do my research back at the office. So where are you now? You're in Philadelphia Alley. It used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So that's why
Makes
every
sense.
yes. Now I say some of the duels because it was illegal back in the 1700s, and it's just you needed hiding spots. This just happened to be one of them. This is why every ghost tour comes down here, because they can prove the duel that actually occurred here. There's over 300 ghost tours in Charleston. We all come here. And again, it's just a staple for us. Here's how this goes. I'm going to give you a few extra details just because you're ghost hunting. By all means, continue listening in. If you hear the song, we'll get into that in just a minute. Here's how. Doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. We had the name Brown earlier.
Yes.
And we're talking about duels with guns. See where I was excited about Brown and gun? Where it can actually, because those are the 2 terms he had show up earlier tonight. So I was like, that's why he's looking for him. But anyway, if you 2 hear the song Brown Eyed Girl while we're here, it's not coincidence. It's part of his name. We get it all the time, but we do have the brown coming from something else tonight. But anyway, moving on. Doc moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancee, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash flow that she just got. So the attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. What's the reference that I missed?
Lynn, it's my middle name.
Your middle name. Oh, it's actually my wife, April's middle name as well.
Oh wow.
Nice.
That's crazy.
We were destined to meet tonight, I guess.
Yeah. To me, like, I make fun of it all the time because as an English guy and somebody who actually uses names with characters all the time, you never want to start the next name of somebody with the last letter of the name prior to it. So April and Lynn, because it doesn't flow properly. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So I always make fun of my wife's name, and now I got to make fun of your name because it doesn't flow
I
properly.
say it's the 70s baby middle name. That's what, yeah, they
And
gave
my
everybody
middle
Lynn.
name is actually Andrew.
Really?
Yeah.
His middle name is actually Andrew.
Yeah, that's my middle name.
What's your
as
first
well.
name?
Stuart. Stuart Andrew. Doesn't mix.
See? Yeah, but the last letter of your first name isn't the same as your first letter of your middle name.
Yeah.
So it still works. So, McKenna, now we gotta play the game with you. What's your middle name?
Wayne.
Lane? Like L-A-N-E?
L-A-Y-N-E.
Lane is my mother's maiden name. Next.
Savannah Ray. R-A-E.
That's my daughter's middle name. London Ray.
I love
Wow.
that.
Region.
Wow.
Re-
You all
Mine's
have
a
a part
mix.
of somebody's name in my family, if not my own.
Mine's a mix between both my parents' middle names. Yeah, my husband's name's Wayne, so we mixed Lynn
Oh.
and his.
I love
We,
that.
we call him Wayne, but his real
middle
name's
name's
Terry
Wayne.
Wayne. But so we
Kind of
mixed
like
our
what we're
middle
doing
names.
here with Andrew.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, no, literally, you guys all have something of
That's
a family
crazy.
member's mind. That is nuts.
That's not normal.
That is not normal.
Normal.
Alright, let's get back to Dr. Ladd because it gets very warm down there. So where was I? Oh, the doctor told Amanda to get rid of the doctor, so he comes down here to Charleston. He's on his way into town. He has a coachman. The coachman sets him up to be robbed and killed. It's like having a bad Uber driver in today's world. But anyway, somebody was walking by and seeing what was about to happen because he knew the coachman. And somebody walking by, his name was Ralph Isaacs. I stop and say his name slowly because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. We get the letters RI all the time, like somebody spelling the word victorious, and that's usually the only word I can think of that has RI together. But I have another device that's actually a little digital Ouija board that works just like...
Stripe.
Or what?
Stripe. R-I.
Yeah, but they weren't spelling it. Like, it was like somebody spelling it. We would hear RI. Like, yeah. But I bought this Ouija board device, and it works just like an EMF meter, and it gives us letters instead of the actual readout, just to see if I was getting the actual letters. I've had it for about a year and a half, and we've had it about 6 or 7 times whenever I brought up Ralph's name. Anyway, just like the groups and stuff that's going on. Moving on. Ralph tells the doc, dude, I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. We're going to go to 59 Church Street. I got friends there that you can rent a room from, and you'll be safe. Doc took him up on the offer. They became friends. The longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point. He's not after Amanda's money. He's making his own. He's doing pretty well. She gets wind of this up there in Rhode Island, and she's moving down so they could be married. Dr. Ladd then became known as the Whistling Doctor. This is why I hate the story. Every haunted city you will ever visit has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. You got somebody walking this way? Perfect. So again, this is why I hate the story. We all have one. Ours just happens to be a doctor. So why am I taking you down here to Dueler's Alley? Let's get into that whole mess. Ralph and Dr. Ladd go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. So he gets better seats. On the way home from seeing this play, they are arguing over the new actress that they just saw. Neither one of them had seen her before. I couldn't find who the actress was, so if you want to Google it and try to let me know. I was looking for playbills to see who it was. I have no idea. But anyway, Dr. Ladd thought she was great. Ralph didn't. The two start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It got pretty ugly between the two of them, and then they separated. Ralph went to his friends at the newspaper, enemy, goes to his friends at the newspaper and places an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of shit. Doc saw the ad and rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they came down here, back to back, took for 10 paces. They turned. Doc pointed his gun in the air, shot his one shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just needed courage to show up to the play. Ralph has his one bullet, puts it in the kneecap from the doctor. Doc didn't die either, but Ralph proved his point. He's still pissed. Not willing to forgive him. Doc's friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street. He died 10 days later, November 2nd, 1786, after refusing medical treatment. Let me point out 2 things. First off, it's 1786. Gunshot wounds, as you two already know, are a lot different back then than what we know of them now. Secondly, he's a doctor. He just thought he had lead poisoning and probably tried to bleed it out himself, but obviously he failed. And every ghost tour that comes down here tells you to listen for the whistles from the doctor. That's what they're all doing right now. Obviously, we have some really good crickets, but we also have a camera and my voice recorder running right now. We're going to get a disembodied whistle. It'll more than likely be on those two devices. However, we're using two of my red spirit boxes. Can't tell you how many times I've had the whistling part of a song and then the word doctor from a commercial show up immediately after. I don't look for it. When I'm going through your guys' media, it's literally minute 1, minute 5, minute 10, minute 15. Like, whatever comes up in that is what comes up in that. I don't search for this shit. I just let it come to me. So I can't tell you how many times it's actually happened. So if you're going to try this on your own and walk all the way through here, I can't take you all the way through this alley. I'm going to explain here in just a moment. But use your voice recorders from your phones. But remember that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Queen or Cumberland Street, we all throw a whistle down the alley. So again, it's just something we do here in Charleston. Yes, you can chuckle, it's funny. Because we do it especially to the people that don't know the damn story. Like, I just heard a whistle, and then all of a sudden there's nobody around. But here's why I can't take you all the way through here. It's because I've actually been kicked out of here. That's why I'm always cautious about, like, I see a man with a suit, a little name badge, I'm like, who the hell's that guy? So let me tell you how I got voted out of here. That's the fun part. The alley didn't go all the way through the way we came in. There used to be a wall up there, about halfway between us and Cumberland Street. The reason why is because this was called Cow Alley before it was Jeweler's Alley. So this is where all the livestock was kept for the city of Charleston. Cows, goats, and chickens were all down in here. Now, why am I telling you this? When you guys noticed that the tour guide that we cut through actually had a flashlight pointed on the ground. So he was pointing out a couple of things about these bricks around us. Now, I will tell you that the bricks down on the other side are definitely older than the ones we're standing on because the alley grew over time. So those bricks down on the other side, those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child in one of those bricks on the top, and some fingerprint swipes in others. He was showing you kind of a partial print down there. I don't know if you guys caught what he was doing. Again, there are some that say that the partial prints that are up here are almost staged, but that one down there, you can definitely see like the wrinkles in the kid's hand. I used to take my groups all the way through for a history lesson because there's nothing paranormal about it. You already know how I feel about cemeteries. That's the last place you're going to find that kid who made the handprint, right? So November 26th of 2020, I took my entire group down there for their history lesson. They're all huddled around the damn brick waiting for something to happen. I know nothing's going to happen. I'm trying to shoo them along because we're also outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful, not realizing we were out of bounds of tours. So the new owner of that mansion he came out screaming. Like, my daughter thought it was hysterical. She was on the tour that night. She was about 13, 14 years old, and her father's getting yelled at. She was all about it. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because I used to work for Walmart and upper management. You guys fight over towels on Walmart, on Thanksgiving, and you guys kind of scarred me for life. I will never work Thanksgiving again. So you guys got the point on that. The next day, the date's irrelevant. November 28th, I called my partner that brought me into tourism, and I told him what happened so I can kind of figure out what to do next. He laughed at me just like my daughter did, and he said, dude, you're only allowed to go down halfway. It's considered residential past that. Reroute your group. I'm like, well, I didn't have anything for the next, this part of the half of the group. So I told my team that night, because it's Black Friday and I'm sold out again, I don't believe in the next story because I'm into vampires, not pirates. Now, I already told you we're not doing the pirate story tonight, but let me tell you why this was exciting. Before we left, somebody with a spirit box heard the name Anne. I didn't tell them which pirate we're going to be investigating. The female pirate, Anne Bonny. So I was kind of like, oh snap, maybe we're going to get something. I took them up and around the corner. I told them what I did know about pirates at the time. Again, wasn't my thing. But somebody else with a spirit box heard the number 300. Don't know what that one means. Wrote it down. Do the research. We were there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. The exact 300th anniversary of her pirate trial. So,
wow.
Yeah, I normally get the wows from you guys, but you guys already know I have a master's degree in creative English, basically all my writing degrees. It was actually quite a problem for me. Here's why. Pirate stories come from pirate lore that was written 100 years after the golden age of piracy. That means a shit ton of research to be able to verify all the things you guys are finding. So, unfortunately, that place is off limits for us as of right now, so hopefully it comes back in the next couple of weeks as things loosen back up again. But where we're going next, we're going to swap cameras, and it's an apparition story. So the camera that we're going to be using is hopefully going to be able to find an apparition because we are still within a week of its anniversary. So it's a pretty cool little spot. Again, every ghost tour goes there and kind of ends things there, and I usually let them have it while I go do the Anne Bonny bit, and then we just move on. But we are in the anniversary of it. After probably this week, I'll probably have to find something else because I don't want to say like the story's been overdone, and you guys have probably already heard it if you've been in Charleston before. But I like to do the weird stuff that you guys don't get to see from the other ghost tours. Have you heard anything, McKenna? I didn't know if you were paying attention to me or that.
I was paying attention to you.
It's okay. Yeah, I know I talk fast and it's hard to like keep track of both things. What do you got?
Domain.
So nothing like that you were kind of flashing at me like made any sense to me. But again, sometimes when I'm going through the recording and I'm looking at the list at the same time, I'm like, oh, that kind of might go together.
Yep.
You know, but those Brown and Gunn, like that to me is like definitive Dr. Live
Gold.
stuff for sure. But
I'm
again,
just gonna flash it. I don't interrupt you.
yeah, and I can read and talk at the same time. So that's where all of those crazy degrees come into play. Let's see. So we can probably, there's nobody down here right now, so we can probably swap cameras
Okay.
right now so that we can kind of see. I can do the quick demo of it. It's actually not